Hey everybody, welcome to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. We are very pleased that you tuned in today. Listen, today we're going to talk about some really important stuff. I know that Christmas is around the corner. I know that it's the C word at the moment and we don't want to talk about it so early, but it is that time that we start really looking at what's going to happen in our community, right? Another fabulous C word. And someone who's very important in our community is Rita Inamarati. I hope I said that right. She's with Volunteer Nanaimo and she heads up a whole lot of fabulous stuff in this community, and in particular, the Christmas Angels program. Welcome to the show, Rita. How are you, my friend?
Just dandy. How are you?
I am just dandy as well. Hey, listen, for our listeners who may not be familiar with your role in Volunteer Nanaimo and the whole Volunteer Nanaimo piece, I wonder if you can share with the community, really, what does your organization do?
Well, Volunteer Nanaimo is, of course, an organization that deals primarily with volunteers, volunteerism, but we have expanded and evolved over the years so that we are now more of a community service organization. We do provide a lot of services and we do have a number of programs, just due to the fact that, a lot of organizations have their own volunteer coordinators now.
Absolutely.
So we've been able to really devote a lot more time to helping the community and helping those in need, low income, seniors, the vulnerable youth as well. So that's primarily what we do now, is we deal with community services.
So, and community services volunteering right now has changed a lot because of COVID-19, but we know that behind every organization, there is a strong volunteer base, and community couldn't do the work without volunteers. Have you noticed a change or a trend since COVID-19 in the way that people are approaching Volunteer Nanaimo?
Volunteer Nanaimo in particular, I would say not so much like you mean our own personal volunteers. We have quite a strong volunteer core. The majority, I would say, of our volunteers are seniors. So reopening was a bit of a challenge because, of course, we have to consider the welfare and health of our own volunteers before we can consider doing anything else. But we have got all our safety protocols in place. We do the social distancing, masks to come into the office. We limit very stringently the number of people that are in the office because that is a requirement by the health authority. So we do follow that quite stringently. Overall, as far as volunteerism concerned, right after the initial shock of what the pandemic was all about and how scary, how terrifying it was for some people, particularly seniors and those with any kind of immunocompromised in those situations. I mean, this was just overwhelming for so many of them. So I think, we really saw a real increase in mental health challenges, people just not knowing how to cope. After that was worn down just a little bit, I'm just going to say maybe 2 months in, there was a real flux of people wanting to volunteer because the need was incredible. Particularly, again, we're going back to seniors, people who are housebound that just for their health and well-being could not leave the home. So there was a real need for people to do shopping and picking up prescriptions, and then of course the isolation portion. So, Volunteer Nanaimo stepped up with a program, a party line program, so that we could engage seniors who were isolated. But still, there's, just countless volunteers were needed. A lot of people were now at home and wanted to use that time to volunteer for whatever reason. They, were laid off work, the place they worked had to close down during COVID, or they had reduced hours, or for whatever their own personal reasons, stepped up to volunteer. One of the problems that came up then was if you're working with a vulnerable sector, such as seniors or youth, you need a vulnerability criminal record check. And that's basically been shut down.
Yes. Yeah.
Very
We weren't
difficult.
able to go to the RCMP locally for sure. And so that must have
Very
been an
difficult.
impediment. So how did you deal with that? And are you doing that now still, or how are the criminal record checks being done now?
We would love for people to get them. We cannot, as an organization, we are not insured to send people not been verified, that have not been vetted, and that are not known to us into a situation where someone who's vulnerable could be taken advantage of. I mean, and we wouldn't want to. I
No,
mean, we have a
absolutely.
lot of calls from seniors, and I know that you've worked in this sector as well, where, I mean, they're not asking for much, but whether it's to help with cleaning or a move or anything, go grocery shopping, pick up groceries.
Yeah.
You have to be so very careful about who you're sending to do that, even if there's, they've got, again, protocols in place. Leave an envelope with money in the mailbox, I'll leave the groceries on the step. I don't know that that's going to happen. There's no way for us to know if that's going to happen. I think I'm going to say the greater majority, maybe 99% of people would be honest, would be caring enough to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But we don't want to be the one responsible for sending that one person who's not going to be that caring or that responsible or honest. So that's been a real switch. I understand right now, and you'd have to check everybody individually, that even though you're not allowed to go into the RCMP office and line up, I believe you can make an appointment to get a criminal record check done. But it's, information, so they can only have one in at a time. Their office is not huge. And that may well be. We haven't had that experience. We've just been social distancing, and any of our projects are that way. And of course, we do have the 2 youth programs, Youth Can 2020 and our youth network. And they have come up with amazing projects. They were doing gardening for seniors, like going into their yards and doing all their weeding and cleaning up the yards, and making signs and doing, art for seniors outside at Eden Gardens or Kiwanis. So that was one way that the volunteering continued. Everybody was safe.
Yeah.
And, so that's what we're seeing.
I was very, very impressed recently. Our guest on the program on Act3 was from Youth 2020. And the team was sharing with us, Gwen, I believe her name is that right?
Yes.
And her cohort, lovely.
Camilla.
Pardon?
Camilla.
So Gwen and Camilla were on the program, and they were talking about how they were using chalk art in front of Eden Gardens and some of the different establishments. And I thought, what an innovative and wonderful way to connect youth and seniors in the community. In regards to the criminal record check, certainly RCMP has got some protocols in place at this point. You can actually get your criminal record check done online. All you have to do is type into Mr. Google, and Mr. Google will sort of lead you to that local piece. And we also encourage people within community, although in specific, I know that the BC 211 volunteers do get vetted. They do get the criminal record checks done. But those persons end up going to the local hub agencies from the United Way. However, at times there's an abundance of those volunteers. And so, certainly volunteers who have had their criminal record check that may not be used currently in Nanaimo under our current system, just basically because there would be, there's no spot available, or they're full at this time or whatever. That's not lost. They can actually then take that CRC report and take it to you, and still be able to do
absolutely.
that.
For some of the programs we do, but most places where if the seniors are congregated, like Eden Gardens, Kiwanis, their restrictions around volunteers inside the hospital, any place like that where there's really that challenge about trying to keep people isolated. The schools aren't allowing volunteers inside the schools. I mean, these are huge components of people that really do a lot.
Yes.
And just, there's just no way to do it as much as they'd love to do it. People want to get back in there, help out with their kids, help out with their, help the teachers out. I mean, their job is, they're the new hospital workers, right? They're really out there with all kinds of challenges. And, so it's also not so much that people can't even get a criminal record check. It's like, where do they go?
Yes. So things have really changed for volunteering overall. And the ability and the freedom that we once had for doing volunteerism. I know that the province has been talking a lot about volunteerism in the last little while, and the new buzzword is, getting back into community. But you're right. I mean, how can we do that effectively and be able to go into the schools, go into places where, where people are and keep everybody safe? I know that we're getting better at this, in all fairness. We're getting better at it. We've been at it for a bit of time now. March, we're coming into
Yes, 6-7 months, here we are.
like, wow, right? And it's a learning turn every single go of it. So if somebody does need somebody to give them a hand as a one-on-one for those from the volunteer base that you currently have, if I called in and said, listen, I need a little bit of help with my yard work, for example, okay, is there does it take a long time to partner a senior with a volunteer or a person with a volunteer to give that support? Is it a quick turnaround time now? Is there enough of a base?
Again, we don't have that base. If you're not coming in with that criminal record check, we can't send you out, period. Now, if you wanted to have some gardening done and our youth were free,
then you could be done.
Send them out. They're going to be in your yard. They're not going to be that close to you, for something like that. But we do have other services where people come in, like we have computers set up. We help people to manipulate computers to do their forms. We help them with their forms, help them, with all different things like that. So they can come in and do that,
You have a huge tax program too, don't you?
We have our tax program, which is here. It's a year-round program.
Yeah.
And, so that never stopped. Actually, even during COVID, we did them in March, April, May, did them in June. We just kept doing them, but we just had to really cut back. We were doing 120 appointments a day. And, we had to cut down to maybe 40, 50 a day because we could only have 1 or 2 people in at a time. So we do a lot around that. We train seniors how to use technology. We have one-on-one classes for that, again, with masks and some social distancing. All of that is available. We haven't really changed any of our programs. So we do have that. But again, we're always back to, if we have people we know, we trust, have been vetted already, who are in our periphery, maybe not coming into the office, but we know them. And if there's someone we can call to send that we, again, know and trust, I always look at it like it's my grandmother or my grandfather who's calling. Who am I going to send there? Some person who came off the street that I have no idea who they are?
Absolutely, I hear you.
Maybe someone from church, or maybe, that I've known for years, or someone from the office, or someone who's been volunteering with us at different other projects that we've done.
Yeah.
You have some knowledge of. It's always about that connection. And that's what I sort of put in my forefront. We did a Christmas breakfast last year for seniors, low-income seniors, and the volunteers were not, actually the volunteers came from CHLY. I don't know if you were part of that, but the volunteers came from CHLY, and we didn't need as many as we had. So the bulk of them came and said, well, what should we do? And I said, you know what? Go out there and talk to them. They need someone to talk to. Just go out and, well, what do we talk to them about? And I said, imagine your grandmother 3,000 miles away, is going to a breakfast and doesn't know anyone. What would you want someone to say to her? And that's a big part of the connection with seniors.
Yes.
So if I'm going to send someone out, I have to be 100% certain, not 99% certain.
I understand. You are preaching to my choir, sister, just so you know. And listen, so that bank of people that you once had, like that, where you, I mean, I remember a time when you had, several hundred volunteers on standby. Granted, they did any number of different things, right? So granted, they weren't necessarily for one-on-one. A lot of them were very situational. For example, Silly Boat Festival or any of the major festivals, of course, that we have not been able to have in Nanaimo or really anywhere else in the province for a considerable length of time now. And so those people have just kind of disappeared, or is it just basically because of an application process or a needs assessment being the vulnerable sector, or just a standard criminal record check, because they are different?
Well, exactly. You have 2 different criminal record checks. Just back on the volunteers. We do have a special events volunteer list, probably 280 people that have filled out an application and have indicated they'd like to be on a special events contact list. And what that is a list of people that whenever an event comes up or a need for something comes up by an organization, we will send that information out to these 300 people. So we do have that bank. And the reason we can do that is we are saying to them, look, there's this 2-day event or this afternoon event. If you're interested, contact this agency. Then it's up to the agency to supervise and to deal with them. We do not have criminal record checks for all these people sitting in our office. If they have gone and if they did go themselves to get a criminal record check, which we always recommend, and we can provide a letter for them to do so that they only pay $10, we can do that. So that's what that information is about. So if we were looking for instance, coming up, rappers, people to come and rap our Christmas for all of our, hundreds and hundreds of people that we like to take care of at Christmas, I could put that out to these people. Because if they come in to do rapping, again, first of all, we have all our protocols in place, so they're safe and we are safe. They would always be with people who have been vetted, people who have been with Volunteer Nanaimo since before I was here, which is 15 years, so even longer than that, or people that we know have already gone through the process. So it's not like we're just putting them into a situation that there is complete unknown. There's always a known factor. People come in here to work to help us with anything. There's people here around them to help guide them through the system, to be on hand. Whereas you're not sending them out to a situation where they just don't have a clue where to start. I mean, okay, they're going to figure it out eventually.
I know, but I hear what you're saying, and I think that that's an important distinction, right? That's you've got some stewardship that kind of goes with bringing people together in a way that is meaningful, but is actually safe and in the appropriate manner, for sure. But the segue part is what I'm super excited about, which is one of the major reasons why I've got you on the show today. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7. My guest today is Rita Inamorati, who I love saying your last name, who is with Volunteer Nanaimo. And she's also the queen, super Santa of the season with the Christmas Angels program. And I know I started at the top of the hour with the C word because Christmas is just come so god darn fast. I know that we're just nearing into November. It's just hard to believe that the summer is gone, that the fall is well underway, and it's Christmas Angel time. We need to support our community in a wonderful way. Let's explain to our audience really what is the Christmas Angels program. You've been heading it up for such a long time. I swear you're Mrs. Claus. Let's roll. Tell us about it.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying I am not Mrs. Claus. There are a number of fabulous programs and a lot of support in this community. And I won't even try to name them because I know I'll leave someone out and hurt someone's feelings because I know just the amount of work it takes. Mostly because of the amount of work that I put into it. This is my baby. If I did nothing else, if I retired from this job that I have or this, and which I love so much. I mean, I just devote so many hours to it. If I did nothing else, I would come back for Christmas Angels. I will roll in here in my wheelchair because I just love this program. And our program is just a little bit different from most in that we are not a depot per se. We actually have angels in the community, businesses, individuals, groups, teams of people who come together and they actually adopt specifically a family, a senior, a youth. We have wish lists from them with ideas for gifts, clothing sizes, shoe sizes, where they indicate, as I said, a few ideas for the children. You know, they have their special wishes for Christmas, but there may also be needs. Needs a pair of boots, needs a winter jacket, things that are also vitally important. The program from the onset was to give a child a gift they want, not just a gift. That's not always easy. A gift is not always easy. A gift a child specifically asks for, that is sometimes a challenge. So that's what the program is about. It's not about, you know, buying everything. It's not about doing everything. It's not about overwhelming or overtaxing yourself to help someone else. It's doing what you can and how much you're comfortable with, and, you know, to help someone else. And it may not involve adoption. It may not involve what could be traditionally what someone might think the Angel program is, because the Angel program, like Volunteer Nanaimo, has evolved over the years. And it's grown so quickly and to such numbers that we have to evolve. And we have to look to different ways of involving the community. So we have, you know, little minor hockey leagues, peewee hockey teams that last year got together and, you know, did up 4 beautiful family packages. Apparently each team, they challenged each other. So each team tried to outdo the other. And then their wonderful, caring and understanding families fixed it so that everything looked even, and they brought it in. So, you know, and we have lots of little angels, little tiny children that that this is what they do. We have families that have taken this on, instead of exchanging gifts, have adopted a family with children their own age as their own children, and gone out shopping as a family. And we've had again, different things. We started out with families with smaller children, because that's generally what you get. Again, then evolved into families with children from 0 to 29, because just because they're not traditional ideas of children, which, you know, you see the 4 to 6 year olds who have all the paper all around them and, you know, all the shrieks and exciting, you know, they're still our children, and as long as they're our children, and there's still disappointments, and there's still fragile egos, and there's still so many challenges around parents or grandparents that are raising families. So you can't just say that this is what the picture is. That is no longer. The picture has changed so dramatically, and with people who are always on the move, who don't have extended family connections, they have to rely on programs such as ours or many of the other programs. We are not a food program, although I'm going to say most of our angels do something around that. That's not the program we are. And we have amazing programs in this city that take care of that need as well. I mean, we may try, but that's not our program. So again, all the families that we help, that we assist, that we adopt out are vetted by agencies. So people don't phone us to say they need help. We can't take on that responsibility, because that's all my team would be doing, is taking those calls, which I'm sure they're happy to do. But again, we go back to the vetting. How can we possibly find the time to vet, or vetting, investigate? Because that's really what it is. When you're vetting someone, you're investigating the need. Is there really a need?
Absolutely. You really are. And I guess for the community to understand, I'd like to break that down a little bit more when we're talking about vetting. So basically, let's imagine that an organization such as the Nanaimo Brain Injury Society, the Alzheimer's Society, Nanaimo Family Life Association, any of the organizations that deal with community, deal with family programming, have a participant base. That participant base expresses a need, or the agency expresses a need on their behalf. And we then would send that information to you for the angel. Is that how that works?
Exactly. So right now we're dealing with, I think I had last year, 16 different groups that were sending people to us. And we really rely on their intimate knowledge of the family. These are, or individuals. Right. These are people that they work with. These are people that they know. It's not someone who just walked in off the street and said, because you don't know where they've been, not physically.
I understand exactly what you mean. This is where you have the relationship that we talked about, and that relationship is so crucial in ensuring, particularly because, as you said, this program isn't a typical program. You're not going in somewhere and picking something up for somebody. This is more of creating a partnership between the family and the Christmas angel, so to speak, to be able to fulfill something that is a genuine need or desire for that family, which is where the angel piece comes in, as opposed to it being, kind of a, I was kind of, I'm going to be a bit transparent here. Most people in the community know that I grew up on social services. And so in my lifetime, my very first presents came from CKNW Orphans Fund, from the local fire department, from the Salvation Army. Our food came from the Salvation Army. I was very much, if it wasn't for the hamper program, if it wasn't for our version of Christmas Angels through CKNW Orphans Fund and all of those things, our family wouldn't have had a Christmas at all, period. Not to mention much of our everyday business of living. However, at Christmas time, and many of the gifts that we received as children were not necessarily tailored to what our specific needs were. And that's where I think that difference comes in, is that the gifts that are brought to community in this manner through the Christmas Angels program are actually tailored to fit the family. So it's not like, and don't get me wrong, growing up, I was so grateful that I received dolls. And I mean, my very first gift was a red purse with a little horoscope book in it that I've written about many times in Nanaimo Voyager magazine, because it changed my life. It changed my life. It changed my whole family's life. And to pay it forward, those kind of relationships, for me, there's always that soft spot in my heart for that, because I know what it means to be without. I know exactly what it means to wake up Christmas morning and there be nothing under the tree. I know exactly what it feels like to not even have the tree, let alone, and no food on the table. So these, there is a sense of desperation. And even now in this day and age, there's so many more people that are close to the poverty line, if not on it or deep embedded into it, that really are forgotten. And yes, you're right, there are a lot of programs, but none are really tailored to the very specifics of the little girl that really is wishing for something except for your program. So I guess what I want to say is, people really need to understand that the impact of this program is so deep and is so important that it changes people's lives. How can people get involved in this program, Rita?
Well, it's very simple.
Simple is good.
If you can just call our office, someone will be able to give you more information around how to register. You can email me directly, because I personally do the matching. This program, really important to know about this program, is that it's completely confidential.
Yes.
And while I may know, and the agency, the workers that send the information in know, no one else working within the program, no angel knows the family specifically or personally. And there's no meeting of these people. Like, the angels don't meet their angel families. So, and that's really so important for
another incredible.
That's really to protect
Yes.
everyone involved.
Yes.
It's protect the single young mom with the littles at home. It's to protect the seniors. But just as importantly, you have to protect the angels, because if they're meeting and our angels are so amazing. I know angels that start preparing for this as soon as January rolls around. They're getting ready. They're doing fundraisers. They're doing whatever, because when they adopt their family, they want it to be really off the planet. You can't, because we're dealing with some people that are challenged, some people that are vulnerable. If they know who you are, we can't protect you from that, if that makes any sense. So, you know, we have to try to protect everybody. We want everyone to be safe. This year, it's, you know, we're looking at, once again, we've been thrown a curveball.
Yeah.
And we are looking at such changes. We have always done volunteer Nanaimo Angel Network out of our office. So I've had up to 30 people in here, shoulder to shoulder, wrapping, piling up, you know, sorting. People, families, we give like code numbers to, so that no one knows the family name. You don't know who you know. You know, people always say, you got to be careful what you're talking about when you're sitting in a restaurant in a booth, because you could be talking about the person that's right behind you, because you can't see them. So we don't know who comes in to volunteer that might know a family. We want to save people. Like, some people are embarrassed about even having to ask. We've had people fall through the cracks that I've had teachers phone me on the 20th of December and say, we had no idea this family was struggling. It was just brought to our attention because people are proud. And then we're scrambling. We're blessed to have angels that show up here until the 23rd or 24th. And not that I recommend it, please, because
No, last minute's not
that,
the easier way to go, for sure.
But I'm just saying that need can show up right up to the end. We have no idea what that's going to look like. So generally the past few years, we're looking at 5 o'clock on Christmas Eve when the last parcels are going out.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to really keep all of that in mind, and you have to work around all of those things. And again, we have to protect our volunteers. We have to protect everyone. It's such a huge, it's just such a lot of paperwork. If you saw it, you'd just be thinking, how many trees did you kill? All the paperwork. And even though it's on the computer, everything that comes in is on paper, because there's no other way to
No, we're still in that time where we need to use it. We need to be able to adjust that. Then, speaking of paper, I'm really wanted to just take a quick second here to remind everybody that during this time of the show is when I tell you to go grab a piece of paper and a pen, because you're going to want to get some information from Rita. She's going to share her contact information, email address, and website very soon. In the meantime, go grab it while we're still talking a little bit more about the Christmas Angels program. So, and by the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to CHLY 101.7 FM here in Nanaimo and Act 3. I'm your host, Kathy Holmes. I love talking with community. And today's guest on Zoom, so if there is any background noise or we hear any of the odd stuff going on, we're still working from home for the most part. We're still not able to get into studio just yet. And again, for the safety reasons, Rita Inamorati is our guest today, and she is with Volunteer Nanaimo. We're talking about the Christmas Angels program. So Rita, I know that the generosity for angels has been outstanding. I've witnessed it over the years, and I'm curious, you know, if we can share with the audience the generosity factor. People are insanely giving.
Well, first of all, if I can start by saying, everyone who does anything, in my mind, in my eyes, and in my heart, are angels. So generosity, absolutely outstanding. Again, not going to say who it is, but we have had gifts that would just make you crazy. iPads. No one can ask for an iPad. We don't ever put that out there. We don't, if children are inclined to ask for a PS4, that's not even information I share, because to me, if I wouldn't do it for my own kids, it's unrealistic to ask it of another family. Those options are always there. As an angel, you can always phone and say, hey, you know, I'd really like to do whatever. we will check with the agency will check with the family. If they say it's a go, for sure. Last year, we had a family where the children asked for air house passes to go for trampolines. And instead, they bought them a trampoline. So they would have that trampoline year round.
Wow.
And exactly.
That's like, wow.
We had the year before, we had an agency for a family. Again, the family did not ask, but we had one of my agencies called and said, you have a lot of connections. Do you think you could get me some good used tires for this family? You know, they could really use it, winter weather, etc. And I mentioned it to their angel, and instead they got, in conjunction with OK Tire, set of brand new tires.
Wow.
So, you know, some of our angels, absolutely off the charts. We give them a list with as many ideas as we can, you know, a minimum of 4, so that they can go out and pick whatever it is they're comfortable with. If they want, you know, they get sizes, and if they want, because they're grandmas like me, whose grandkids and children have always received pajamas at Christmas, and they want to add that, they're more than welcome. What we have with so many of our angels, which is it a good thing or a bad thing? They buy everything on the list because that's what they want to do. They want to buy everything on the list. Not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. My children have never had that. So, you know, I certainly, you know, come from the same kind of background as yourself. As you know, we've talked about that. But I have to say, on the other side, not because everybody can't do that, what I ask is, you want to be a part of it. This is an extraordinary program. So many people want to be a part of it and think it's so beyond what they can do. And my suggestion to you is, hey, if you're out grocery shopping, pick up an extra shampoo and conditioner and drop it off, because we can give that to a family or as part of a package, because not all our families necessarily get adopted, and we do that from within, from donations that we've received.
I'm going to stop you there just for a second, because I think that that's a really important piece, right? A lot of people don't understand that those simple things like shampoo and conditioner mean a lot. So shaving cream. Do you know how much it costs for razors these days for men? It's unbelievable. They're ridiculous. Razors for women are expensive. You know, and so the reality is a lot of people think, well, I wouldn't want to give that to somebody for Christmas. But imagine if you don't have those things by nature, how important they are to receive. So they are, those bottles of shampoo, they do make a difference. That soap does make a difference. And certainly it comes together. It's not like you go to a family and say, here's a bottle of shampoo, and that's it, right? You know, it's obviously in some kind of a, although for some families, a ribbon around, you know, their favorite shampoo would probably be just joyful, right? Because the appreciation factor is still there regardless. But the reality is, obviously, you know, we're going to put it together in such a way that it makes sense. But those add-ons, stocking stuffers, right? There's lots and lots of small items that can be added, whether it is in a stocking or not. It can be added to supplemented gift for an older adult, for example, who might not need all these giant pieces of packaging, but really just need a few smaller items. So to you know, any of those things, don't dismiss them. They are important. They do bring that gift some consistency for some families as part of another piece.
And I encourage people that want to just, you know, a $10 grocery card.
Yes.
A $10 grocery card will get you milk and bread and peanut butter and, you know, what, well, maybe not all of those things, maybe not $10, but, you know, you can pick up
but you're right,
like some little essential that you need. And a $10 Subway card for a teenager who can never have lunch out and goes out with his friends who go to Subway and have to have the granola bar in his pocket, or the charity of a friend who buys him lunch, to have that $10 gift card when they go back to school and they're saying, hey, let's go to Subway, and change the ego of that child who can now say, yeah, great idea. And he can buy his own lunch. The change that would make in a child, not only to have it, but to know that someone out there cares enough to give it to them. like to allow them to have it. So when we get that, and we do make stockings up for vulnerable youth who would, young teenagers or older teenagers. I mean, those things, even for seniors who never get to go out, a $10 card for Tim Hortons, like, oh my goodness, they get to go out for coffee and maybe a bagel.
Absolutely.
What a nice treat. Treat a neighbor to a cup of tea out on an outing. Again, not now, can't go do it now, but they could go and get a box of donuts to take home, something that they wouldn't necessarily have. So, if we have people who come with $100 worth of gift cards, amazing. And they think, well, it's maybe not enough. I couldn't do a whole family. It doesn't matter, every little bit. And I know we're probably running out of time, but I just have to tell you, when we first started getting the youth a few years ago, nobody wanted to take the teenagers. It was like pulling teeth. Everybody wanted youngsters. So I had one fellow that called, and he said, well, we'll take anything. And I said, would you take a couple of teenagers? Like, I've got all these teenagers. Could you please take these teenagers? Teenagers are so hard to buy for. I have teenagers. They're so hard to buy for. I said, I'm telling you, these teenagers are not hard to buy for. Please, I will provide you with a list. I will provide you with everything. And he said, well, give me an idea. So I read him a wish list from a teenage boy who was 17, who asked for exactly those things. He asked for a new toothbrush and toothpaste, because this was going to be the only time in the year he was going to change it, some shampoo and conditioner, some warm socks to get him through the winter, a pair of gloves. I can't remember what the other thing was. He said, sign me up, I'll take 2 of those. He brought his boys in. He took 2 boys, the same ages as his 2 boys. And he said, any child who has to ask for that for Christmas, first of all, my sons have to see that, because they have no idea.
Absolutely.
Second of all, just to know that there are children, 17-year-old children, 15-year-old children, to whom this is a Christmas ask. Like, that's not what children ask for Christmas. These children are looking for a blanket. These children are looking for, like I said, socks, shampoo. So when you bring that shampoo in, and you bring these little $10 gift cards or a movie pass or something like that, that we can put in a stocking. I mean, when you think, well, maybe just a stocking isn't enough. These stockings are chock-a-block full of more than they could even think about asking for. Now, we're in our 4th year of doing youth, and they are getting progressively a little bit more, I guess what they probably consider bold, asking for art supplies or asking for leggings or a sweatshirt. We had one little boy that asked for a brand new sweatshirt that no one had worn before. This is a child whose clothes were either always hand-me-downs or came from a secondhand store. And the angel just went, this child has never had a new sweatshirt, and went out and bought them, a $90 Thrasher name brand sweatshirt or running shoe, like New Runners, Vans. Like, and we have amazing companies that stand behind stores. Again, you don't want to start naming because you're going to leave somebody out, but
exactly. I hear what you're saying. I do want to go back to those Subway gift cards or Tim gift cards or whatever, just for a second, because you triggered me, and in a way that is so just, it says a memory that I want to share with community to get the gist of this. When you're always going out with your friends, and your friends are always buying lunch for you, you always feel like such a smuck, right? You never feel good about that. I don't care what anybody says. No, people are, by and large, most people are not takers, right? They're givers by and large. So to have if I had had the opportunity to have had a $10 gift card and bought my friend lunch for the first time, maybe in a year after that person had bought lunch for me, the self-esteem boost level that goes just with that alone, to feel good to be able to give back to the people that have supported you all year long, is incredible. I know what it feels like to want to buy lunch for my friend and not have been able to do it. So that $10 helps 2 people, not just one. but two, and pays it forward as a foundation for other things too, as that young person goes through life. There's something about your self-esteem when you're able to be reciprocal on things. And I'm not saying that these teenagers necessarily are going to do that or not. That's obviously their own decision to do that. But I know from being a teenager that I would have given anything to have been able to take my best friend Angela to lunch, right? After all the times that she bought lunch for me, or Jennifer, right? Or Ellen, or any of those fabulous people that were my school posse, right? So it does matter. It does make a difference. So, if you can only do one thing, get a $10 card from somewhere to share with the youth. Rita, we asked at the top of the hour, or in the mid part of the hour, by the way, to share your contact information. You're quite right. We've only got a few minutes left, but I do want to make sure that your contact information, first of all, and then really what are the steps if somebody does want to become an angel? What do people do? How can they get involved?
Well, first of all, the easiest thing to do is call the office.
Okay.
So, and the number is 250-758-7121. What would happen then at that point is they will probably ask for an email address if it's at all possible. That is the easiest way for me to contact you, for you to give you the information, and also for me to have a paper trail so that I can follow back on what it is that you want. Some of our angels are so specific about wanting certain age, certain makeup of family, want a single dad. It's not just single moms out there. There's single dads out there.
Single dads out there.
And, so you can't just say, how many times I've heard, oh, I'd like a single mom with a couple of kids. Would you take a single dad? Like, you think, we don't have the monopoly on being single parents as women. So, we put specific makeups. People, 85% don't care. Give me anything. I'll take 2 seniors and 2 youth. I'll take a family. We have families of up to 8 and 10 people, like a family, blended families, or very prolific families. Or
yes, absolutely.
So we do have larger families. We try to give them to businesses as a rule. A business will be able to take on a larger family because they can, work around that or group. So that would be the first thing. That is always my preference. However, if you want to talk to me, I'm not a texter. If you want to talk to me, I will phone you back. It might not be till 10 o'clock. So please leave a message. When you're leaving your message, say, do not call after 11:30 p.m. We are in bed. And otherwise I will call, because that is good too, because a lot of people who are new to the program really need some kind of reassurance that you can't relay through a message on the machine. So, and a lot of people like our program because it's very specific. As you said, it's very one-to-one. And again, we need 3 programs for me to tell you about some of the amazing stories we've seen, the tears that have been shed by us as much as by families. So that's your best and easiest bet. It's the easiest thing for people to remember because you can do it from your car and you can do it from anywhere. And you're not texting, so you're good. If you want to email, the email address is V as in volunteer, vnanaimo@gmail.com. Very simple. So you think of volunteer Nanaimo, you take out the volunteer and make it vnanaimo@gmail.com. And I answer emails, and you may think, oh, she didn't answer me when you go to bed. And when you get up in the morning at 5:45, you're going to see that I did answer that email at about 2 a.m. And because that's the only time that it's quiet for you to do it.
You might not see yourself as Mrs. Claus, but I sure as heck do. There's no question in my mind that, if nothing else, you're facilitating the deal. And so that makes things work. You said the number too quickly, though. I'm going to get you to repeat it 2 more times, nice and slow for people that are writing down that telephone number. It is
250-758-7121.
And one more time.
250-758-7121. And if I can just add really quickly, we are a registered charity. So if you make a cash donation, a check, if you go on our website and donate through your credit card or PayPal, we do issue tax receipts. And for donations made to Volunteer Nanaimo. We'd love to be able to do it for every angel that shops. Unfortunately, through Canada guidelines, those donations are not coming to us. Those donations are going to a family. Donations to us, we can do that for. So that's just to clear that up in case anybody's wondering why we would do that one way or the other.
Absolutely.
But donations, we can actually run, we have to do a report at the end of the year through Canada Revenue Agency for the charitable, there's a charitable report.
Yep.
And those are donations that come through the office.
So as we lean towards closing the program, because we're just a few more minutes left, I always ask what the piece of wisdom is for people. Like, I know in my heart what the wisdom is, but I want to hear your take on this, the whole process. Like, whether to me, it doesn't matter whether it comes from the volunteering side or the angel side. You know, what would you like to imbibe on our community as a takeaway moment?
I think I've already said it, and that is, there is no angel too small. There is no angel deed too small. And again, as much as people are getting something, you're giving something, I promise you, you are getting something.
Oh, indeed.
And again, a $5 gift card from Tim Hortons buys a coffee and a muffin, and that might be the difference between someone staying home and staying isolated and really not feeling good about themselves, that this could change their outlook for the day, give them something to look forward to. You know, you might have that and think, on Friday, I can go out for a walk if it's nice and sit down and have a coffee and a muffin, which might not be within their budget. Seniors in particular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Our homeless youth, you know, coming in from the cold, it's winter, it's raining, you know, that opportunity. You know, you want to bring me 2 $5 gift cards. We have a mail slot. If we're not here, put it in an envelope, shoot it through the mail slot, come by the office. We will not be operating out of our office this year. As I said earlier, we've got a wonderful space that was donated, and thank you so much for that, because that only happened this morning and I was really going crazy, that we will be working from. But there will always be people in the office that are able to accept those smaller kind of donations, because we would be using those for other families. One other thing with something that was donated, we got about 75 Christmas stockings, beautiful Christmas stockings donated by a retailer in Nanaimo. The tag's still on them. I mean, these are $40 stockings.
Wow.
I ever in my life spend $40 on a stocking, but we have them so we can fill them with all those little things you bring in, because all those little things make a huge thing. And it's like everything else in the community. If you volunteer for an hour, if you work at a soup kitchen for an hour, if you help a child with their reading for an hour, and 1,000 people do that, then that's an amazing, huge give. And that's all we're asking is, I don't want you to be poor because of what you're doing for someone else. I want you to do what you are absolutely comfortable with. And if you're comfortable with not buying your child the new Xbox and giving that money to us, I'm comfortable with that too.
And I'm comfortable.
But if you're not, I'm not going to ask you to do it. And I don't want you to tell your child, I was going to buy an Xbox, but I gave it to Rita at Volunteer Nanaimo for a poor family. I don't need that either. But whatever you're comfortable with, if you're comfortable with $5 or you're checking out, you pick up a $10 gift card and you do that at your bi-weekly shopping for 2 months and you drop that off, 2 or 3, $10 is not a lot for most people.
Yeah, but the impact of that $10 is substantial.
Pack of cigarettes is 15.
Yeah, my God. Oh my God, yes. Starbucks, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say Starbucks, but some of the, I'll take that name back out again, but
Hey,
that's,
that's my favorite place.
I do. I love Starbucks, to be honest with you. I enjoy it, especially pumpkin latte at that around Christmas time, or some of the mocha, the Christmas mochas are so delicious. But those are like $5, $6 a cup, right? And so it's really nice to be able to think about, those Starbucks gift cards are a wonderful piece. Chapters book store, wonderful opportunity. Woodgrove Mall, just as the mall itself, there's loads of opportunity for stores to give some freedom for people. So, and again, as you said, it doesn't need to be large. I hate to end our program today. I really, really do, because there's so much more to say. So of course, I'm going to invite Rita back again, and Rita will come and join us again in hopefully November or early December to sort of give us a bit of an update on how things are going within community. If you want to get involved, you need to make sure you reach out to Rita Inamanarati. I said that one wrong that time, but she knows what I mean, and so will you. Call her at Volunteer Nanaimo. That number one last time, Rita, is
250-758-7121. Please give me a call. I'm happy to beg.
and she doesn't beg very hard. She's the best kind of beggar there is. Thank you so much, Rita, for being part of the program today. I was really, really delighted to hear about the great news of a new location. I can't wait to hear more about that coming up ahead. Don't forget, now is not too early to make those donations. So please make sure you reach out to Volunteer Nanaimo and Rita as soon as you can. You have been tuned in to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. Every single Monday at 1 o'clock, we bring you what's going on in community, and we're really glad that you tune in. And we also ask that you continue to tune into our program and watch us as well on YouTube, and subscribe to our channel as well, because the more people that get information about what's happening in Nanaimo, the better. So please feel free to share. And also CHLY Spotlight, we are coming. Act 3 television is on its way. We were hoping it was going to be a little bit sooner than it has taken the place. COVID has put a few glitches in the system, but our show is still coming. So make sure you stay tuned for Act 3, whether you're listening to us on CHLY, CHLY Spotlight, or on YouTube. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Act 3.